welcome to Taekwondo Today. This is our first ever episode, and we are joined by the legendary instructor, Master Tony Vella VIII Dan. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi, Ross. I'm good. I'm very well, thank you. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. How's the lockdown treating you?
Strange times, mate. Yeah, it's I think I was a little bit stressed, but fingers crossed we've come up the back of it so far. So fingers crossed we've seen the worst of it. I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the good things is it's great that this sort of stuff has been able to come out of this, because I would never have had the time to actually get this sort of.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people have got a lot of time on their hands, and Zoom's picked up a lot of momentum. Yeah, it's a strange time.
Yeah, so I just thought this sort of thing is great, because it's great we get to talk to legendary instructors like yourselves and just kind of enjoy the fun side of Taekwondo and learn some stuff as well. So I thought these episodes would be really cool to learn about your history, but also, you know, some great memories and achievements that you may have, and stuff like that. So one of the first things I would ask you is just give us a bit of an in-depth conversation about your Taekwondo history, your background.
Sure. Okay. I started in 1982. I was 15 years old. I came from a boxing background. My both brothers were boxers. My older brother was a professional boxer in the late 60s, early 70s. My other brother boxed amateur for 10 years maybe. And it was just something I tried it. I just really didn't get into it really. And then obviously programs on TV. When I was a kid coming through, there was the Kung Fu series. And it just seemed more exciting than the boxing side. So, and that's basically how I got an interest in it. And then I saw an advert for a local Taekwondo class in the Pentrabain area of Cardiff.
Yeah.
And that was June 1982. Popped along, enjoyed it, watched the class, just watched the class first. Really enthralled by it all. And then the following week I joined and never looked back, really, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, because for those that people don't know, that you've been my instructor since I started Taekwondo, and I started in 1999 in the old Heath.
The Heath Sports Centre, yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but we had it was like in the half term, like in a week, few sessions. It was like a kind of a half term school that we went to. And
oh yes, I do recall. Yes, yeah.
And then after that, the next week we joined the classes over at it was at Allens Bank Primary School then, I think.
Yeah, right. That's gone back some time. Yeah, that was like I've been teaching. I would have been teaching this April would have been 30 years.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Corona paid at the end of that, so it was 29 years and 11 months I was teaching, Ross.
Yeah.
And the Heath Sports Centre was the first class. We started in the April of 1990. Yes, it was my first class. I had helped out with other classes, just as an assistant. This is my first full-on class that I took myself. But, yeah. So I basically started in June 82, got my black belt in 85, and then just sort of slipped into competition really. It seemed to be at the time it was either competition or teaching when you get your black belt, and I just didn't at the time. I just turned 19, I think, so I didn't fancy the teaching side of things. So I just started competing. Did my first competition as a black belt in September '85. I'd done a couple as a colour belt previous to that. I did okay, but it wasn't really my thing. You know, I just enjoyed the training, and I was geared towards my black belt. That was the goal, to be fair, for me. And then when I got my black belt, I just started thinking, right, okay, you either teach or you compete, and that's what I did. So my first competition was actually about a week after my first. It was a week after my black belt grading. We hadn't had the results, and the Welsh team had been. Grandmaster Ian Laws at the time was the coach in Wales, and he'd organised a Wales versus Ireland team competition. So it was a junior competition, a colour belt senior competition, and a black belt competition. And I'd be going along to squad training just as extra training for my black belt. And so I think it was forget the actual date. It was first week of September. I did my black belt grading. And then the following week, two members of the black belt team had pulled out. So Master Ian Laws asked if I would join in. in the team, so I hadn't really prepared for this. I'd been through the patterns as a colour belt. They just said, like, you didn't squad training, just learn the black belt patterns. So within a week of me being a black belt, I was in a black belt international, Wales versus Ireland, in Dublin. It didn't go very well from my point of view, but I made up the numbers, and in actual fact, Grandmaster Laws was coaching at the time, and he had to step in and make up the team, fifth man in the team. So it was a bit of a, it was, I believe some of the guys that were due to enter us in the team, for whatever reasons, pulled out literally the last minute. So they just had to put two guys in. So I was one, and Grandmaster Laws took part as well. So yeah, that was interesting.
Oh wow, yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
When it came to gradings and things, what would you say? Because I ask this to people, and people always ask me about it. Which grading do you think, out of all the gradings you've done, was one of the hardest ones?
A colour belt or black belt? Do you think?
Yeah, I would say. So weirdly, when I get asked this question,
I think my first one is probably the hardest, simply because it's unknown.
Yeah.
And you don't really know because at the time, Grandmaster Ree was the only examiner in the UK. When I started, he was the only examiner. He graded, from north of Scotland down to South Wales, down to Cornwall. And I'd never really seen him beforehand. So we weren't really prepared. It's just the unknown. I was a kid. So that was probably the scariest, I would have thought. And then as you go through the grades, obviously your confidence builds a little anyhow.
Yeah.
But I think probably my fourth degree was quite difficult, in the sense that it was a lot of pattern work, a lot of breaking, you could back fist both hands, mid-air 360 back kick, jump reverse turning kick. So that was quite comprehensive. And we did a thesis as well, I believe, which is submitted to the ITF at the time. Yeah. So that was probably, because I think you go from third degree to international instructor. I think they make it more difficult at that level, or the ITF used to.
Yeah.
But certainly my first grading was the most nervous, I would have thought, because again, actually you just didn't know what to expect, to be fair.
Yeah.
And also my black belt grading, again, same sort of thing. There was no sort of set syllabus like we have today, particularly.
Yeah.
I know when I do my gradings, it is a set that you have to perform.
Yeah.
All the patterns, the breaking requirements are the same. Set sparring, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, semi-free sparring. With the black belt grading, we did a course at the time with Grandmaster Ree. And I believe it was a Friday, Saturday, and then the grading was on the Sunday. But you didn't really know per se what he was going to do, make you perform. The break-in was a grey area. I believe he gave me the choice at the time to break 2 boards. So I think I broke elbow, make it simple,
Yeah.
And I think it was a reverse turning kick leg, an elbow as a choice hand technique or arm technique. So yeah, that was. But then when I took my second degree, I was much more prepared. I'd seen a black belt grading. I knew what was expected. I think then I actually bought one of the General's first books, the ITF, the old Bible we called it at the time.
Yeah.
The manual, and it's sort of set out. First degree, you have to do grade patterns. So you understood it better. So I was more prepared. And probably, and going into it, I was more confident than I was from any other grading, really. But it was a lot of the time it was the fear of the unknown, depending on for example, I had a couple of senior black belts grading. One of my first batch of black belts would have been in the early 90s, and at this particular grading, the Grandmaster was really hot on breaking. And there was guys from other schools that were doing technical. They were really technical. They were, sparring was great, patterns were great, but there was no breaking. They didn't break any balls. There was no power test.
Yeah.
And he failed them. And then you have people then who were technically great. They couldn't kick high. They went really fast. Patterns were okay. And then they smashed all the boards, and he passed those, and then he failed the guys that couldn't break boards. So sometimes that was the problem. It was the unknown of what actually the examiner was looking for. So Now it's different nowadays. You have a score, you have an overall score. You have to take in, account every part, every facet of it, really. But at the time, it sort of depended what mood he was in, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, that was that with the grading. I think so once you prepare, specifically for example for my fourth degree, I knew you had to do a back fist, so you prepare.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I have it on my coffee table all the time. This is so. So what we did, we conditioned. You condition your back fist. You hit pads, so you know what to expect. So when you come to the grading, you're prepared.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been on gradings. I think it was my fourth degree grading, and there was guys who were from another school who were going for second degree, and they hadn't practiced any hand techniques. And at the time, Grandmaster Lee was asking guys to do bricks, and they hadn't conditioned, and they just bounced off it. There was no power there. They just scared of it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know what to expect. They hadn't been told that there's a big chance you're going to punch a house brick. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's the problem sometimes is the unknown. So if you prepare for everything, with the ITEC, we do have a syllabus where you should, and I stick to the book.
Yeah.
To the manual, the allotted time, the patterns that you perform per grade, and the power test. I mean, that is part of Taekwondo, and I think it should be in the syllabus. And I think the general set out what he wanted us to do, and I follow that to the letter. To be honest, So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask you as well, because I suppose after your career has been so long already, you've probably got loads of these moments. But is there one moment that you think would be your biggest achievement or your most proud of moment in any aspect of Taekwondo?
I think that, competitively, I would say the time we went to North Korea, that was a great event.
Oh wow, yeah.
That was June 1989. It was a huge event. It was the 13th World Festival of Youth. It was called. It was an event in Pyongyang in North Korea. It wasn't just Taekwondo. It was a sporting event. It was a political event. And we went to the Mayday Stadium, which has capacity of 200,000, I believe. It's in the excess of 100,000. It's the biggest stadium in the world, I believe.
Oh, wow.
There was a demonstration on the field. There must be maybe 2,000 black belts. That was a great event. And the actual competition itself was great. I was part of the British team. We did well. We got a bronze in the team sparring. Very tough. I got a cut eye there. A stick full of punch. It was great. That was the best. That was the best competition. One of the biggest. And the fact it was in North Korea, it was just a great moment in my career. I think your black belt is quite achieving your black belt is quite an event for most people. It should be because it's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. Back in the day, I don't think retracting from how it is these days. But when we were going to the things were a lot harder. You do a 2.5 hour training session twice a week, plus you train extra on the weekend, plus because at the time in the UKT, when I was in part of the UKT at the time, you could get extra training for free. So you pay your subs in one score, and then you could book the local scores as long as everyone was happy. You could do cyber training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you do the extra training on the weekends as well. So but I think the black belt for most people that was a great achievement for me that I've achieved something. And then I suppose I was picked for the squad for the 5th World Championships in Athens in '87. That was a great part of my career. Simply because I reached that, I was an international athlete, and we were athletes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So that was a great. It was an eye opener. It was my first international proper event as such. I got through 2 rounds in the sparring, but it was. And in all fairness, at the time we weren't doing that many competitions. To go from maybe 2 or 3 a year to a World Championships, it's unheard of these days. We'd have the English, the Welsh, and the British Championship. and then you'd have a World Championships every 2 years. So it was difficult to sort of get motivated because just the opportunities weren't there. But that was a great achievement in my personal career. That being selected first time for the UK, and also I was a Welsh team member for 6 years, 6 or 7 years. We did because at the time in the 80s, Taekwondo was there's a lot of turmoil in the IT, ever has been.
Yeah.
And certainly in the UK, it's not minced words. But at the time, there was back in 87, it was a UK team. They took a UK team to the Europeans and World Championship. And then they changed it that the home nations could compete. Then it was only in European. So, for example, you'd have a European Championships where it was England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales.
Yeah.
World Championships was the UK team.
Yeah.
Chopped and changed it so many times, but I've had 2 European Championships. One is in the UK team in Davos in 1990, and then the following year in Reading as a Welsh team member. So that was I don't know, to be honest. I'm not in the competitive side of things at the moment, or any ITF. I'm independent from all that, so I don't know how it works regarding English or UK squads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think as well, because it's one of the things that I always look on, and people see that if you look back on the videos on YouTube now of how the competitions used to be, people wouldn't probably be able to even cope with that now because of how the contact was obviously a lot more crazy and stuff, and it was real. It was more realistic than.
Well, I'll give you an example, Ross. When we were in Pyongyang, we were in the semi-final with Japan, and I was the fifth man out. I think we'd won one and we drew one, so it was on the I was literally the last guy. So whoever won that round was going to go to the next round. And like I said, I had a cut eye. One of the competitors, I think he kicked me in the eye, cut my eye there, and straight away I just bang knocked him out.
Yeah.
Literally unconscious. And the ruling was because I had a split eye. I didn't feel it, to be fair. The adrenaline was pumping, you can imagine. Because he was unconscious, he couldn't continue. I had the cut eye, and technically I couldn't continue. So we played on the rules a little. I said, I can't continue. So I went through. I won simply because I was ahead on points anyhow. But I didn't get disqualified for knocking the guy out. He didn't get disqualified for spitting my face with a turn he kicked. And it was, it was back in the day. It was difficult. It was harder, much harder.
Yeah.
Because what you remember as well, when I started Taekwondo, I didn't start to do a competition or a sport.
Oh.
I did Taekwondo simply to defend myself. And then you get into it more, you understand there's a syllabus to it, and then you understand the lifestyle of it. But to me, it was all about defending myself. Something that, the general says one technique, one technique, one blow. That's it. So to me, when we were sparring competition-wise, even though it was control, if I threw a turning kick, it wasn't just a score a point. It was. That's how we trained. He wasn't, he didn't intentionally go up to kick people.
No, absolutely, yeah.
But when you kick in the pad, you're not kicking the pad likely to score, 10 points in 3 seconds. You're there to hit it, and then so when you spar, that's how you spar. And what you have as well is guys who were conditioned. We were fit, so you're getting kicked and punched, and you just bounce off it. But I've not seen a competition Taekwondo wise for. I think the last one was yours 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't interest me anymore. I've gone full circle now. I go back, to the roots of. I enjoy the fundamentals of it, the patterns of breaking.
Absolutely.
As you get older, the competition side of it's gone. The sparring side of it is, I've had injuries and hips replaced and dodgy backs and all sorts. So that side of my career now is gone, obviously. So, but I don't really have an interest in the competition side any longer. I think you look at it. I suppose there's an old fart looking in, an old has been. You look at it and think, back. I just think it's like you said, what's the word? The the intensity's not there. Not the intensity. The intensity's there because obviously people really, there's a lot more competition these days. You look on YouTube, Facebook or YouTube. There's competitions every week. They love people to spoil the truth. But I just don't find whether the sort of the hard knock kind of style is still there any longer. And I would think, in hindsight, probably these guys these days are, they're doing 540 spins and that kind of thing. But we were probably a little harder them days rather than technical, I suppose.
Yeah, it's how it's changed, doesn't it? Massively. It's kind of in some ways like diluted a lot. The way that, like you say, I think a lot of people now get confused that they start Taekwondo because they want to be able to compete, but they don't actually think about why I started the same way as you. Like you know, and my mum put me in because I was being bullied. She let me learn how to defend myself and things like that. So I think it's really important that we do try and keep people realizing why. Once
your competitive period is over, Ross, what do? You just, when I started training, the toughest and the fittest guy in our class was a guy called Fred Hoskins. Fred's 82, and he's still at the gym. He still trains. He still does his conditioning. He still tries. He still stretches. And he was, when I started training, he was probably in his 40s. Fittest guy in the class. We doing push-ups, and he's done his training. He's running past you. You're one of those guys. Never competed. I think he started late in life. Maybe he's done a couple of competitions. Got his black belt at first degree. Got his black belts in the late 80s. His first degree, second degree we took together. That would have been 89-ish, I think. And he smashed the boards. He jumped up and do jump turn. He kicked the second degree. He's probably in his late 40s, nearly 50 at the time.
Yeah. Wow.
And to him, it's not a sport. It's never been a sport. Fred introduced me to that kind of thing. When we used to train, he just made one of these to me back, maybe 40 years ago. But I use it watching TV.
Yeah.
But people don't do that anymore. People don't do it. People just it's like boxers. I mean, boxers in their 50s, they don't train anymore. A lot of boxers once they stop competing,
it's
training. But unfortunately, that's probably when you need it more, when you get to your 40s and your 50s, exercise, keeping active. But yeah, I think that's the problem with Taekwondo nowadays. I think it's gone too sport orientated, and you see a lot of guys don't do a lot of the power tests anymore. Even before my day, I think they used to have competitions where you'd have all the facets. You'd have power, sparring, and patterns. So and special technique. So you cover the whole syllabus. So when you compete in every event. You see some guys that are great at sparring. They can't punch boards. They can't do patterns. They don't waste time practicing patterns. They want to do a spar. That's okay. That's kickboxing, but that's not Taekwondo. It's a whole syllabus. And I think a lot of people these days, my class is traditional. We do very little free sparring. Traditionally, you need to do the set sparring, the etiquette, the power breaking, the special technique, self-defense, all that needs to come in. But if some guys are just doing competition, that's pointless. You're doing that. You just want to spar and just go kick a pad and spar for an hour and then go home, But that's the problem. A lot of people these days is it tends to be, they go into it for the wrong reason. That's not the wrong reasons. Different reasons. Everyone's got their own reasons to Taekwondo. But that's the only thing I think at the moment is probably gone too sport orientated, and people don't realise it is first and foremost a martial art.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. And also, I want to ask you as well, because it's one of those fun things where you must have many moments of funny memories and things like that, and we don't often get to hear these things because I think, I don't know why, it's just usually when we have seminars and things, and then the social events afterwards, it's great because we get to hear about all these funny things that happen behind the scenes and things like that. So I just wondered if you had any funny stories.
Funny, you did mention this before. I did a little thing. I thought, it's been a long time thinking. But I think the funniest. I'm the kind of guy, if I can't. No, I can't tell you that one. No, no, I can't. No, I'll tell you off air. Well, no, I'm the kind of guy that would say something and put his foot right in it.
Yeah.
Okay? If there's, if you could put your foot in it, that sort of tumbleweed moment, that is me. Okay. There is another thing. There is a little event I need to speak to you later about. I can't say on there. However, the funniest I think that I can actually say, I'll tell you, would be the first time I actually met General Choi.
Yeah.
It was in the World Championships in 1987. I was in the British team, so we walked in. It was a big, I forget the name of the hotel, a nice big hotel in the middle of Thessaloniki, I think it was, just outside Athens. So we're all in the reception, and of course we got the UK British tracksuit on. So of course Grandmaster Lee was in Singapore, Malaysia, so he's held with great esteem in that part of the world. So we were chatting. So as we were just mingling in the reception there, a lot of guys were coming over, Malaysian competitors, and saying, "Oh, Grandmaster." Sorry, he wasn't Master. He was Master. He wasn't Grandmaster at the time. He was 80. Oh, Master Lee, Grandmaster. Master Lee around. I go, we were just chatting away.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it got a little bit. I think I was just jet lagged a little bit. I'm going, yeah, I just really flippant and this, that, and that. So this one guy said to me, "Oh, Master Lee, Master." And I was like, I just sort of flippantly went, yeah, and just walked off and sort of turned my back. And as I turned around, I thought, oh, be General Choi, wouldn't it? I didn't recognise him, so I'm just going. He said, "Oh, you with Master Lee? Master Lee?" I said, "Yeah, he's here." I went, "Yeah, he's here somewhere." Flippantly just sort of fobbed him off, and it was the General.
Oh my God!
He just walked in the reception, and of course, then I just thought, it's not sort of that moment you just think, "Oh shit!" I just didn't realise it. Because I'd never met him, obviously. And this is before the internet, so the only time you actually saw the General was in magazines.
Yeah.
Photographs of the General in like Combat Magazine or Taekwondo Times at the time. It was a big publication from America. So that was the only photographs you'd ever seen of it. So that was quite funny. The day I didn't realise it was a General. That was amusing. That was funny. The other one I'll speak to you another time about.
That'll be a great episode.
That was the other one was the funniest. Well, it was a little bit of it. It was the European Championships in Davos in Switzerland in 1990. We'd had a bit of a scratch team together, myself and others. So Stuart Craig from Scotland, Keith Sullivan, who's retired now, Grandmaster Gary Miller, and we won the pattern event, just literally off the cuff. We'd all practiced individually, and we got together just for the event, and we pulled off a gold medal in the team pattern. So we were ecstatic, you can imagine. So we'd all so at the time there was the North Koreans, the demonstration. So after the event, we'd have a party, like we always do. So Master Lee at the time had given us a bottle of Johnny Walker whiskey, and he gave it to me and just said, would I mind it? I don't know whether I took that as oh, well done. You just won the European Championships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we decided, I think he wants us to have a drink, so we started to drink it. So of course I'm not a massive whiskey drinker. I like a beer, as anyone that knows me will tell you. So we got a little bit drunk, and it got to the point when the North Korean demonstration team members was at the reception at the party, and we got him drunk. I don't think he was much of a drinker, but we literally forced him to have a drink. In hindsight, and one of the members of the team had his head pulled back in the chair, the drinking chair, and just guzzled Johnny Walker down his neck. And off we went. It was quite surreal. Yeah, that was fun. And got in, and he was okay afterwards. We were just so pleased that we won, the European Championships. And I think Gary Miller, he did very well. I think he had, I think it was silver in the patterns, silver in the spot, silver in the break-in. we come second or third in the power brick team breaking as well. So overall, it was one of the best performances by a UK team in a long time. And yeah, we just
celebrating
the Johnny Walker. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. No, it's great. And I think it's really cool to have these sort of memories, because we've all got some great memories of stuff, because obviously the artist, so it's, you know, we do it professionally and seriously and things, but people forget, I think, sometimes as well, that everyone is, you know, human, and we have good fun and good laugh. And
Taekwondo could be fun. It's something that you do. If I didn't have fun and enjoyment out of it, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a job. It is a job for some people. I never say I'm a professional, so I never say I'm going to work this evening. I go and teach a class, which I've done for 30 years. You know, but people first and foremost must remember it's something you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it, either as an instructor or, you know, as a student, then, you know, like even, you know, like the Grandmaster used to say, you know, he doesn't force you to come there. If you want to learn, you'll teach. You know, and I think Taekwondo, it is a serious, obviously, a serious art and a serious skill that you pick up. However, you could have a bit of fun enjoying and learning it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to finish, we've got one kind of final question, really. We obviously a lot of students that take up Taekwondo actually start at university, which I've only realised since I've been involved in that, how many people have never done it before, and then they'll go to university at the age of 18 or a little bit older, and then they'll choose something new. And Taekwondo is great because they can choose that and start that from scratch. And a lot of people who hopefully will be watching this as well will be thinking about maybe going to university and won't have done that yet. What advice would you give somebody who's never or been involved or started Taekwondo before? Was there any advice you'd give somebody about joining, or why they should kind of get involved in Taekwondo? What's important?
I just think, you know, the instructor, you know, I would just say, I think you gel with the instructor, because you can have some people, and again, Taekwondo is full of personalities. You know, if you don't enjoy the instructor's way of teaching, even though it's a great art, I know guys who won't train so and so because they just don't get on with it. You know, he might be a great instructor, he might have really good competitors, competition-wise, but, you know, first and foremost, you must have a nice relationship with the instructor. You must gel. You know how you practice after the class is entirely up to you. You know, but I think first and foremost, if you're not inspired by your instructor, or you're not going to enjoy it. You know, so. I beat the classes. I said I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy training. I used to train everywhere at the time. I remember going to some people's classes and just thinking, oh my God, I don't want to get out of here. It's just the most mind-numbing. There's no, how can I put it? There's no sort of enthusiasm. It's a monotone voice. We will do this. Let's do this. We shall do this. Let's do this. Come on, let's go. No motivation. How can you motivate people doing that? You know, you have to motivate people to get the best out of them, whether it's competitive-wise or when they're training and they're not putting enough effort into it. And they need to motivate. Sometimes there's a negative, people sort of motivate negative-wise with the military side, you know. But people, that's fine. You've got to have the respect and that kind of thing. But you also need to enjoy the class. If you don't enjoy it, like I hated school with a passion.
Yeah, same.
I didn't realise, and by the way, everybody get an education, get a great job, have a great life. Okay? When I was a kid, I was in high school, the first day of high school, a friend of mine's brother was a year older, said, you realise you don't have to go, do you? Bumped off. I just bumped off school. I just didn't like it. So I bumped off school. You know, because the teachers, I went to a Catholic school in Cardiff. Throwback from the 50s, some of the teachers were there. Didn't inspire people. Quite often they were bullies.
Yeah.
So it didn't inspire you. So I thought, I didn't want to go. I hated school with a passion. Similar to Taekwondo. So if you don't enjoy it, and you don't enjoy the teaching and don't enjoy the instructor, you're not going to go. You know.
Yeah.
And it's not so much Taekwondo has put you up. It's the instructors put you up, not Taekwondo. You know. I would say, personally, view a couple of classes if you can. See what the level is. Not so much the level, because sometimes, you know, as an instructor, you might have 20 people in the class who, I've got guys in their 50s, started at 50, started at late 40s. I've got a student of mine, her kids have come for, wow, I'm trying to work it out, since they were 6, and now in it, 23. This one's 23, and the mum started training. I don't want to give her age away because the gentleman never divulges a woman's age, a lady's age. But she must be 55, 56, and she's still training, you know. But the thing is, you don't necessarily have a great standard, but they put 110% into it, you know. Because so what I would say, if you go and view a class, don't view it as, you know, everyone's brilliant in it, because you don't get brilliant people in every class. You don't get it, you know. Look at the standard for black belts. You need a decent standard for black belts. Because there's something, you know, age can affect your ability sometimes. And let's be honest, as you get a certain age, you know, your kicking becomes slower and lower. Your stretching is not as flexible. You know, some people still can perform, but you know, as you get older, that gets less and less. But I would certainly say check out the instructor, because it's not Taekwondo that puts people off. It's instructors that put people off. If you don't enjoy treating that particular instructor, you can't turn and go, "Oh, Taekwondo was rubbish." No, the instructor might be rubbish, not Taekwondo. You know, there's a difference. Look at it. I would say look at a couple of classes and just see those that are, and obviously make sure they're qualified, because as you know, there's enough people going around bumping up themselves grade-wise, jumping from 1st degree to 5th degree, 5th degree to 8th degree, literally, and I mean literally overnight. Check their background. You wouldn't think it happened in this day and age, but it still happens. And people can get checked out. But I would certainly say, you know, and get as much experience as you can. You know, see as many classes as you can. You know, speak to as many instructors as you can, and see what you want to get out of it. If it's a competitive class you're looking for, fine. If you go with that, I have people email me. They want to come from the classes. They're not happy with it. The first thing I ask is why. Why are you switching classes?
Yeah.
I don't want to take on anyone else's trouble. I don't need, you know, I teach. I don't need any aggro, and I quite often, if I know the instructor, I'll tell them, you know, you need to speak to the instructor first, and then I ask what they're looking for. And I tell them straight, I don't teach competitive Taekwondo. I teach traditional Taekwondo. We recondition. We do set sparring. We don't put sparring on free spar all day, every day. You know, so it all depends what you're after.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so yeah.
That's great, because I think it's so great that people they form communities through it. I suppose the same. Well, I remember when training back in Cardiff with you guys, like we'd go out for curries and things and beers and things, and it's so nice to have that dynamic as well with it, because it creates a community around it. And I think with universities, there's so many people that come quite, you know, lonely and things. They don't have many friends on their courses.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great, you know, for that purpose alone, Ross. Absolutely, you know, it is. You know yourself. You know, everybody's in lockdown at the moment. You know, we can't. You know, I live on my own. I've not gone anywhere really particularly. So I can imagine, you know, you're leaving home, go to university, strange town, don't know anybody, and Taekwondo should a good Taekwondo school will, you know, embrace everybody. You know, I remember we had a competition when I first started teaching back 30 years ago, and one of the guys, we went to a competition in Oxford, I think it was a team event, and one of the guys in my school was a devout Muslim, and we went for a drink in the bar in this competition. Everybody was there afterwards, and he wouldn't go in the bar because there was alcohol in the bar.
Yeah.
So we all sat outside. We left that drink and sat outside with a Coke and had a chat with him, because I thought, well, you can't just isolate the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We went into the room with because there was alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, so, and he was one of the guys that he was I think from Saudi Arabia. So all the guys in this team said, well, fine, we'll just come outside and stay with you then. So that's what they did. They got chairs, sat outside the bar in the sports centre and just chatted, and then we all left and went home. You know, so, and that's what Taekwondo is all about to me. That's what it's all about. Or it should be.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Definitely. And I think at university that is so true as well, because there's so many different backgrounds. So it is a great thing as well. Just want to say thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
No worries, Rob. I'm happy.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to see you in person soon again, very soon.
Oh, fingers crossed. Let's hope so. Yeah, I do hope so. Take care, anyway. Take care, Ross.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.